again guys, thanks for tuning in. Today I want to take a quick look at super skin tones from Tim's Tools within Adobe Premiere Pro. Now, a couple of things before I get started. Premiere is not the software that I generally use on a day-to-day basis, so I will probably do things in here that seem a little bit odd, and I'm certainly not going to go into a lot of detail about the whole grading process, but I do want to demonstrate just how easy it is to use super skin tones on a range of different shots to basically nail your skin tones and do so in a really sort of easy way. So Adobe Premiere, basically the simplest way of doing this is by using an adjustment layer. I have just added a few stock videos onto the timeline here, as you can see, and now we're going to add an adjustment layer over the top of them, which is going to allow us to use super skin tones to make adjustments to the original clip. So I'll show you how you do that. Just down the bottom in your little media pool, I'm in the color page, but the editing page is effectively the same. Down the bottom here, we're going to click on New Item and go to Adjustment Layer. Just like that, and OK, and we're done. Okay, so we have an adjustment layer. Now, for those of you who haven't used adjustment layers before, they essentially do nothing until you make changes to them. So the way that they work is the changes that you make to the adjustment layer will affect all of the clips that are below them in the timelines. So they're handy for adding these kinds of tools to. So let me show you how that works. As I said, I am in the color tab here, so I'm going to go over to the Lumetri color panel, and I'm going to select Input LUT and Custom. And from there, I'm going to choose Super Skin. The link is in the description below. And that's basically added that there. Now we have this track muted, so I will unmute it. And you can see, basically with the track unmuted, the adjustment layer is affecting the clip directly below it, which is this one, and it is making her skin go all green. Now that is by design. We are going to turn it off before you go ahead and render your clip. Don't panic. But basically what Super Skin Tones is designed to do is tell you when you have hit the correct skin tone by simply highlighting it in bright green. Simple as that. And I'll show you. If I take this clip below and note that I am not adjusting the adjustment layer anymore, I'm clicking on the actual clip below it. If I push this in the direction of, say, slightly magenta or slightly green, in fact, if I go down to the color wheels and I push this clip in any direction, you can see that if I go too far in any direction, she will no longer be bright green. And you can see I haven't actually gone very far away from the center in this particular case, but if we turn off the super skin tones, you can see that her skin is clearly no longer right. If I show you the before and the after, so we haven't changed it very much, but it has affected her in a way that just makes it a slightly less pleasing image. So we're going to reset that back. So Super Skin Tones is pretty sensitive and allows you to dial in a pretty precise looking skin tone. Alright, so let's grab another one here. This one, if I turn that back on, you can see we've got a bit of green on there. What we are trying to do is get as much green on the skin as we possibly can. So I'm just going to go up and I'll just make this one really easy by just fiddling around here with our tint and temperature. It's not there, so it looks like most of our work is going to be done there. All right, and that's pretty much done. If I again just toggle that off, you can see we went from the before to the after. And if you look at his skin tones, hopefully it will be obvious on YouTube. This is with it turned off, and with the adjustments that I just made using Super Skin Tones as a guide, you can see that his skin is a lot more natural looking. Back here, you can see it almost looks a little bit magenta, and that's not an uncommon problem with lots of different cameras. They just don't really nail skin tones particularly well, particularly older cameras. So Super Skin Tones is here to rescue you from that problem. Okay, right, next one. Let's grab this next clip and I'll show you how this works. Okay, I'll turn on Super Skin Tones. And I will turn off the FX mute. As an aside, if you're not familiar with this little icon, because it's not on by default, this basically is a an effects mute for all of the effects that are on your timeline, and you need to add it by using this button editor here. You can just drag the FX mute down onto your into your little tool belt. Okay, so anyway, that is it turned off, so we can see what's going on. Okay, so we want to make adjustments to this. We've got a nice big patch of skin there to work with. We want to make adjustments to the clip itself, so I'm going to click on the clip itself, and we'll do this one with color wheels until she is as bright green as possible. And you can see that as soon as I start going in the right kind of direction, so if I go in the wrong direction, you'll see just nothing happens. All right, as soon as I start going in the right direction, you can see that she starts going green. Simple as that. That's the adjustment made. Basically, if I go turn that off, you'll see there is our before and our after. Now, as I said, I am not a Premiere user, so I'm not going around and masking all of these skin bits out, but obviously if you're a little bit more experienced than I am, you probably would do that in order to not make too many adjustments to the background of the image. I'm just looking at adjusting the entire balance of the image using the skin tone as a guide. All right, let's take a look at the next clip. Okay, and we've got our adjustment layer up on here. I'll unmute that, so I can just move this around and put it across any clip that I want to make an adjustment to now. So I'm going to go and we'll try this one again up in here. Oops. Yeah, there's a mistake to watch out for. You need to make sure that you click the clip itself, not the adjustment layer when you're making your adjustment. Okay, so we'll just go maybe in that direction. We don't need to go very far, obviously, with this. What we're looking at is trying to get as much green onto both of their skin as possible. The nice thing with super skin tones is that it will work for a wide variety of different skin tones. Okay, I'll turn that off, and you can see there was our before and our after. So we've warmed it up quite a lot, this particular clip overall, but if you look, we're looking particularly at their skin tones, you can see that they're looking a lot more healthy and a lot more natural. All right, let's try a couple of slightly more challenging ones now. So I've dragged my adjustment layer over the top. I am clicking on the clip itself. Actually, I need to unmute my adjustment layer. I'm clicking on the clip itself because that's where I want to make the adjustments, and you can see we've got a little bit of green going on here, but we want a lot more than that if we want to make sure that her skin tone is looking nice and natural. So again, we'll just spend most of our time here in the mid-tones. You might find that you get a little bit of a response from, depending on the software that you're using and how you've got it set up, from adjusting the highlights and the shadows as well, but in most cases you can do all the work just with the mid-tones there. So you can see we're trying to get as much of her, you know, as I move it around, you can see that it goes sort of from, you know, bright green to slightly less so. We're trying to get her as green as possible. We are going totally for the Incredible Hulk here. I will mute that clip. And you can see there's our before and our after. Now obviously again it's warmed up the entire picture, but you could have equally masked her out and done just that bit of it. Alright, last one. We'll take a particularly challenging one here. So obviously he is lit in this case from one side at least with a blue light, which presents a bit of a challenge. I'll just unmute this, and you can see he's obviously quite neutral in terms of his lighting on the right hand side of his face, but the left hand side of his face is very blue. If we wanted to make the blue side of his face natural looking, that is going to adjust, it's going to change other parts of the image, but I'll show you how we go about doing it. So I've selected the clip again, and we're going to start in our mid-tones, and we're probably going to have to go quite a way with this. Okay, so you see we're starting to get a bit of green in there. You can see I'm going to, because we've got a particularly blue looking shot here, I am actually going to put all of our tools into action. All right. Okay. So there you go. So we've obviously made some pretty dramatic changes to the shot in order to get him as green as possible. And if I mute that, you can see right now the shot is not looking so good because obviously we've changed the color of the entire image. I would probably just grab the shadows here and just take the saturation out of them, and you can see we've got a shot that's now looking pretty good. And just as a reminder, that was where we came from to where we got to. So all within just a few seconds of playing around. Now, if you are an editor who's been doing this for a while, chances are you will probably rely pretty heavily on things like scopes and things as well. And this isn't necessarily a replacement for the scopes, but it does give you some pretty unique benefits compared to video scopes. So the scope that you would generally use if you were trying to dial in skin tones would be this one here, the Vectorscope. And in most software, including Premiere, a Vectorscope has got what's called a skin tone line, which is this one up here between the yellow and the red parts, quadrants in the image. And that line there gives you a pretty good indicator. The area that you're looking at is on the correct line to look like skin, basically, to be nice and natural for skin, regardless of ethnicity. So it's quite a useful tool to have. Having said that, a shot like this, it's actually not too hard to see that we're kind of on the right track. As an aside, that's where we were before, so we did go quite a long way to get it to change. But if you were to take a shot like, say, one of these, you can see here, so that was the shot that we were, more or less the shot that we were working with before. You can see this Vectorscope at this stage is not really very much use at all. If I turn off the changes that I made and turn them back on, you can see there is an area there that is bang on the skin tone line, which is what we changed. But just looking at this and looking at this, you wouldn't know whereabouts in the image the skin tone was. You could have a bit of an educated guess, but it would not give you a lot of information. So the only real way of doing this would be therefore to go and sort of mask out just that part of the image and then use just the preview on the Vectorscope to do it. So that's the nice thing with Super Skin Tones, is that I don't even need to use a scope. I can get reliably good skin tones, and you can see that they are indeed good, right along this line. You can see that it's quite easy to actually make sure that we've got the right skin tone, and I didn't actually even need to use the scopes at all, which is a super handy tool. Anyway, that is Super Skin Tones in Premiere Pro. If you've got any questions or comments, let me know down in the box below. Otherwise, thanks for tuning in, and there's a link in the description if you want to know more information.